E-commerce expansion myths blasted. Successful cross-border expansion help. Listen to the show to hear how one UK company is helping e-commerce sellers successfully expand into Europe and double their profits. Hosted by Andy Hooper of Global E-commerce Experts.
So good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's podcast. This is a podcast I'm really excited about. So welcome to Global E-commerce Expanders podcast and how you can successfully expand into Europe. But today's special guest is someone who has been making massive inroads in the last 4 years, because, you know, as an entrepreneur, you know, it's all like, well, it happened all overnight. Well, clearly it didn't happen all overnight. And that's what we're going to go into. So, Cas, welcome to the Global Expander Secrets podcast. So thank you very much for joining me.
Yeah, thank you. Great to be here. Thank you very much.
So, Cas, do you want to give a quick bio, who you are, where you are currently? Don't go into that in too detail because we're gonna dive deep into that.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, I'm the founder and CEO of OnBuy.com, one of the fastest growing marketplaces in the world. We certainly turning some heads recently. We set out to launch a level playing field for sellers and buyers. Been doing a really interesting job there, growing the business. Sales are in excess of 170 million, and we've been onboarding retailers at an ever increasing pace. So it's a really, really interesting time for the company.
Wicked. And I'm going to come directly back to that in a minute. But before I just want to ask one question on that. How weird does it feel saying things like the fastest growing marketplace right now? Because clearly you didn't say that at the beginning. You couldn't say that. But now, how does that actually feel?
Yeah, it's good. I mean, it's the rhetoric's changed. You know, if you go back, it used to be, look, I will make one of the fastest growing marketplaces. I will be top 3 in the UK. I will do these things. I knew how to do them and whatnot, but nothing proves like proof, right?
Because there's lots of people that talk about it. The proof's in the pudding.
Absolutely. Honestly, it's so true. And you're saying to, if you go back, whether it be retailers or investors or anybody, whoever you're talking to, saying this is what we are going to do. This is how we're going to do it. And everybody just raising one eyebrow a little bit like, I don't know if you can do this, let's see. And then to have those conversations as it's developed has been really interesting. And we've grown 13 times in 13 months, which is just phenomenal.
Wicked. I love that. Any story like that goes, it's just epic. So before we get too deep into that, what I want to do is just wind the clock back a little bit, because you're not an old lad, are you?
I'm 36.
Well, some might class that as old. I don't know. I don't, because I'm just a few years ahead of you, so I don't class that as old. So
my kids call it old, but I like to think that I'm on the right side of 50. So.
Okay, so obviously the idea hasn't come out of nowhere, but we're going to go all the way back a bit further. So, talk me through where did you grow up?
I grew up in Manchester, a town called Urmston, and fairly middle class and normal upbringing, and I was always entrepreneurial back then, so quite a story, but yeah, very, very modest roots.
So when you say, what did you sell at school?
Oh my goodness, putting me on the spot. Well, I mean, I've had a job since I was really young. I remember being 10 and getting my first job. But
what was that doing?
Actually delivering milk.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I took a weekend milk round with the milkman. And I was intrigued, and that grew to working in stores and supermarkets until I got to about 13, when I started realizing that I could sell solutions to supermarkets. But but I was a pretty normal kid, but always had that entrepreneurial flair. And to be quite frank, I see it in my son now. So I think it's just something in the gene. I don't know where it came from.
Yeah, because whenever I talk to different business owners, most entrepreneurs, people that are coming up with ideas, right? They worked or they were selling stuff at school or whatever it was. Like it's mental.
Oh, there was a lot of selling stuff as well. I mean, in school, we were anything that we could sort of get our hands on or be involved with. But
yeah, fantastic. And so you left school. Did you do university or anything like that?
Well, I went in the military first. I
Ah.
finished school, went sixth form, then at 17 had an itch to really get out of Manchester, to be honest. So I just wanted to go further afield, felt quite trapped and really wanted to go for it. So I joined the Royal Navy. And then I joined as a rating, not an officer. And then while I was in, I got my papers raised and went through officer training. And then a conversation around education came up, and I thought, oh, that maybe I should have done a degree. And I was supported by my divisional officer at the time. And I said, look, I want to do a degree. And she agreed that would be cool. So I went to Bournemouth University to do a law degree. And at 22, actually maybe still 21, I set up my first limited company because I found the pace of university so slow. And then, by the time I was 24, in my last year at uni, I had 27 staff. So grew that very quick.
So let's touch on that. So you was in the Navy. Which ship did you serve on? Or
I didn't do ships. I was mostly land-based, air-based. So I was in the Fleet Air Arm, which is a little bit like the Navy's air division.
Where was you based?
I was based in Cornwall, in Helston. Culdrose.
Yeah. Epic. One little story. This story I love. I was in the Sea Cadets as a kid.
Cool.
Anyone that doesn't know what Sea Cadet, basics like mini kids running around pretending they're in the Navy, right?
Yeah.
Epic experience as a kid. And they did a trip I was 11 years old. My first year at senior school is what I remember. First summer holiday, so I might have been 12. And they put me on a train and sent me to, if you don't know Cornwall, it's called the Lizard. They sent me basically down to Cornwall on a train on my own at 12. Can you imagine doing that now? You just wouldn't be able to do it, would you, right? Sent me down there. And part of being at Culdrose as a Sea Cadet, they put you in a helicopter. And you did a helicopter ride in a Sea King. And they took you up in a Sea King and then they cut the engine. And literally the helicopter just free. I don't know if they cut the engine, but anyway, what happens is the helicopter just free falls out. You're 12 years old. The doors are open on the Sea King and you can see out. Like there's no, like, it was like, ooh. Anyway,
that's pretty cool. I mean, I was on Merlin aircraft, but
okay,
been in Sea King as well. Yeah, I mean, it was a great experience that really gave me a really good sense of what was out there. You got to think I was siloed in Manchester as a young lad, and I didn't really know how to break out into the wider world. And I would say the military was a brilliant catalyst for me realizing that you can do anything, you can go anywhere. And the Navy took me to Canada and to Ireland, and all kinds of things I was involved with as well. At sea too, with an incident, the submarine incident in 2005. So yeah, it was a great way to start a working career.
So then then decided, well, I want more. I want to educate myself. I want to learn. You decided to do a law degree. Why law?
Truth be told, someone just said to me, if you're going to do a degree, make sure you do, a good degree, in a good subject. And I remember being, well, I don't really know what I want to do. I'm very driven, and I didn't want to do IT because I didn't really feel it was a huge amount for me to focus on in IT, and I didn't want to be a developer. So I just thought, well, law sounds like a tricky one. We'll do that. Let's do that for a bit. But then the pace of it and everything was from coming out the military. I don't think people realize when there's something to learn, they make you learn it really, really quickly. I remember doing a period of about 9 months of constant exams. And it's nothing like university. We were revising till 4 o'clock in the morning, getting up at 6 o'clock in the morning, just 2 hours sleep, getting in, doing the exam. And then immediately literally next minute after finishing that exam, right, next subject, and we're doing another test in 4 days. And it was intense at one point. And then coming to university where it's a bit like, okay, you've got these lectures and a couple of reading hours, and then the rest of it, you've got nothing to do. And I was like, this is insane. I can't do this. So that's why I ended up setting up my first company.
So what was that first company?
I'd already been involved since I was about 14 in web development and web design. Not myself doing it, but I used to pull other people in, and I used to basically, I've always had a knack to understand what businesses are trying to achieve and translating that back to what we should actually build, which is a language barrier in itself sometimes between dev and business. So I'd already been involved in web for most of my young life, and then even in the military I was still helping some companies and stuff. But then I just decided, I can give this a real good go, and we got involved in web design, web development. We grew that over a period of years. We ended up partnering with a major IT company at one point who bought in, and then we ended up doing solutions for NATO and the NHS, and we worked in 9 countries across e-commerce, recycling technology, and basically people would come in and just say, I've got this idea for a business, and we used to sit and help them bring it to life. So yeah, exciting for a few years.
So was you still in the Navy at this point? Because you said that
no, they let me go. They let me go to do my degree. I had the right to go back, and they kept the door open for me. And I really actually wanted, my whole life, I always wanted to go back, but I realized that there was just something itching to get on and prove that there's something, a bigger picture that I really wanted to be involved with. So my heart is still very much in the Royal Navy, but my working career has taken me on a pivot.
Yeah, well, everyone goes on these pivots. So how long did you have that company for then?
Well, I grew that company. We opened some subsidiaries and we changed name. We tried different things. We focused on then the consultancy side and the management side. But we did that, and we ran through a group of a few different companies until around 2014. So until we started OnBuy.
Okay. So over that period then, so you've obviously run that for quite a long time.
We did that about ballpark 8-9 years. I mean, we still had some clients once we'd started OnBuy, and we had to end some contracts, and move those clients on nicely to their next providers. But yeah, 8-9 years in web dev.
Yeah, fantastic. And so that really set you up then for the OnBuy piece, I guess, from a web development point of view and understanding the market in that area.
Yeah, we had 1,000 e-commerce clients at one point. We were consulting businesses how to scale internationally, grow their products, use and leverage marketplaces to create scale and drive efficiency in the business. And it's quite easy to summarize, but every business is different, and you get involved and look at how volume can reduce buy prices or maybe, improve manufacturing process, and realized very quickly that these marketplaces that we were consulting businesses to work with were going through their own development journeys from, let's put it this way. When we started working with clients, it was, hey, we need to use marketplaces. We need to use these marketplaces to leverage their huge customer base and grow their business, and all of these things that we would use, and that fixed cost route to market would help my clients to scale and everything else. And then towards the end of the advice, up until we said, okay, enough's enough, we're gonna do something about this, the advice had changed to, okay, look, we need to look at marketplaces, but we need to look really carefully, and we need to make sure that we protect your products. Can we wrap them in a trademark? Can we look at some solution to protect your products? Can we keep some of your secret products, your best-selling products, off the marketplaces and sell those through other mechanisms? And then I realized, why are we doing this? Why are my clients partnering with marketplaces? And they're thinking that the marketplace is, there to enable and help and assist. And actually, a lot of these marketplaces just taking data, trying to steal their products, source their products from other means, or if they couldn't do that, manufacturing their products. And I had so many clients that had been approached by marketplaces saying, look, we want to check the authenticity of your product. Can you send us invoices to prove, that these products are legitimate? And of course, they do that in a flurry, of course they are. And then lo and behold, the suppliers of the products getting phone calls from the marketplaces saying, we want to buy this product and we want to buy it at this price. And you just think, wow, how can this happen? And then you can see where the idea was born.
Yeah, fantastic. So that idea came about. When did that idea first come about?
Truth is, we started thinking about this in 2012. We actually soft launched a very, very basic version of OnBuy in 2013. Just to make sure before we start throwing money at it that it was going to be, well received.
Yeah.
And then when that was proven and we built up a base of people that really wanted to work with us, I put the first £500,000 into the business in January 2014.
Yeah.
And then we started building, and we went online in November the 7th, 2016. So it took us, a while to build the platform, because there's a lot of infrastructure needed for marketplaces. I'm sure you appreciate.
Yeah, fantastic. So on that journey, so before we dive into that sort of that beginning startup phase and what that looks like, from your military career, what do you think you took out of that? You've gone out of school, gone into the Navy. What is it from the military, do you think, that really, helps set you up and give you a good standing, if you like, that you still utilize today?
Yeah, I think the military was a good thing for me. I was always extremely entrepreneurial and extremely driven, but the military sort of set me up with a missing piece, which is just self-discipline. And I don't mean discipline like people shouting at you, telling you what to do, because the truth is the UK armed forces, they're just not that way inclined, especially the Navy, and especially as you're moving through the ranks and becoming, taking on more intellectual roles as well. They want you to do the thinking. It's not like the movies of the American military where it can be a bit more drill sergeant approach. And it gives you, one of the things that the military did also do when I first joined that I'll never forget, and it sounds crazy, but when I first joined the Navy, first thing they made you do for the first few weeks of very basic training was drink water. And I used to think, what is this? I thought I'd be actively involved, crawling through mud and all the stuff. I didn't know what I was signing up for. I was very young and just needed a change, a break. And actually, just the simple things like your own fitness, drinking water, staying healthy, and they really help you to understand what your body could do in 24 hours a day. What is physically possible? Because I tell you, when I joined at 17 into the military, I thought, we needed 15 hours sleep a night or something. I was a teenager. But to learn very quickly that you're getting up in basic training, at 4 o'clock in the morning, but you're not getting to bed until 11. And what can your body physically do with those hours? And how do you do that? The calorie intake, the rest of the fitness, the water intake, staying hydrated. And you never forget that. So I know, where my limits are and what, and how I should apply myself and what is enough and what isn't enough and how to deal with stress. And yeah, I mean, it certainly, I say to many people who have, young teenagers that are a bit lost, don't rule out the military. It's not what you think it is. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's still some trades that are still definitely maybe thrown into a different environment a bit too quickly, but for young kids. But the Air Force and the Navy, especially in the Fleet Air Arm and whatnot, they brought me to think differently, act differently, and I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, fantastic. I love that because exactly that. Different people listen to this from different walks of life, and I think that's really, really important. That there's lots of kids out there right now. So I've got an 18-year-old. A lot of their friends are like, I don't know what I want to do. I've got no idea whatsoever. And it's interesting hearing that story. It doesn't have to be a lifelong career, which it probably was 50 years ago. It's not really like that anymore, is it? People are much more fluid within it.
No, and I was hugely entrepreneurial. I mean, I can't express enough how entrepreneurial, but doing all kinds of things and always found a way to make money from selling or being involved with other businesses. But what was missing was just that bit of life experience, and I didn't know what to do next. I didn't fancy a career in law or anything like that, and I wasn't from a privileged background. And I didn't know what was next and how to apply those skills. But getting in and actually meeting people from all walks of life and in different circumstances and being able to travel a bit of the world, there was second to none learning experience that just really helped me see, do you know what? The world is extremely connected. It's not as siloed as I felt coming from where I came from, where we didn't really leave the area, and everybody you're growing up with stays in the area. Everyone gets jobs in the area. No one really moves on. And actually realizing very quickly, no, there's a big world out there and you can go and make from it what you want.
Yeah. So with the IT sort of web business, what was how many staff did you have in total in the end there?
It grew to about 33 before we shrank it back down to about 14 once the business had gone through a bit of a learning in with the way the market was moving. We had salespeople at the start, for example, and then realized we didn't need to do that. We became quite well known in the industry for what we did, and we didn't need sales anymore. And but yeah, it finished at about 14 people, and those 14 people actually, essentially moved into most of them moved into OnBuy. They were all offered roles in the new company.
So with that first role though, what would you think out of that first business? What what would be, if you say, well, what was the number one thing you learned over that period that you took into, OnBuy, if you like?
Oh, I just think you mature. I don't think there's one thing. I think you mature. When I started, I didn't even know what VAT was, and
Yeah.
you grow your business and you learn so much. I think, coming from a background of not having support, it's even harder because when you start your business, you have to learn everything, and you're going to learn either through mistakes or you're going to learn through experience, and that means you do learn a lot along the way. And I can't express enough how much was learned. I'm a learner. I absorb everything, and I'm constantly pushing in every direction.
On that, Cas, do you when you say you learn, do you educate yourself, or do you learn, or is it a mixture of both?
Yeah, it's a bit of both. I absorb everything from everyone that I've met on the journey. I'd interrogate accountants and advisors and lawyers, and if I got to meet somebody that was involved in a more senior business, I'd do anything possible to get time with them and learn about their business, its structure. And I was learning a lot from my clients too. I had clients of various sizes, I just constantly on the learn. So I think by the time I came to OnBuy, I was well learnt in regard to lots of different business types, lots of different countries and cultures around business that, it really, I would say OnBuy is no accident. This wasn't, and I have to say this to investors sometimes, new investors, should I say, when you speak to them, people have business ideas, right? People have careers, and then one day they think, oh, I've got a business idea. This is a really good business idea. OnBuy wasn't like that. OnBuy was literally, all roads leading to a pivotal sort of point, a pinnacle moment that's like, well, actually, all of what we've learned in DevOps, scaling technology, building technology, testing, training, rolling out, delivery of software, managing e-commerce, clients, finances, VAT, international tax, couriers, manufacturing, marketplaces, e-commerce solutions, APIs, integrations. You take the whole career and you map it all in. You go, actually, now I'm even talking about consultancy because we're onboarding retailers, we're explaining why OnBuy is good for them and how the market can shift. We work with brands and explain how we're going to make a huge dent in the market. And you just add up the whole career and you realize everything from the day that I left the Royal Navy every single bit of it has been a piece of the puzzle that's helped create OnBuy.
Brilliant. So let's get into the OnBuy piece. So you said you created what I presume is like a minimum viable product to 2012, 2013.
Mm-hmm.
You started testing it. Yeah. So you started testing it. So what was it called at the beginning? Was it called OnBuy at the time?
Yeah, OnBuy. Yeah.
So where did the name come from?
Well, truth be told, and not everybody knows this, but when we were building e-commerce, there was no big commerce, there was no Shopify, and there was only one platform that still exists, so I won't name it and shame it, but there was one platform that we had to start with, but it wasn't very good for what we needed, which was, the ability to scale our clients' businesses aggressively and not be limited by their framework. So we took the decision to build an e-commerce platform. And my first business was called On Top Web Design. And then that went on to On Top Management. And then that went on to On Commerce. And then On just stayed. We built a platform, an e-commerce platform. We put hundreds of thousands of pounds of development into an e-commerce platform called On Commerce. And we had around 1,000 clients using it. And it helped us to scale really quickly. And off the backbone of that product, we said, maybe we should launch a marketplace. And we flirted lots of ideas, but I said, no, I want to keep it on, but OnBuy connects to, because it was always online, right? So
Yep.
as we evolved, it was like online commerce, on commerce, and then we turned to OnBuy. So it was like online buy. It kind of made sense. And then before you know it, it started to verbalize itself. People just OnBuy just is what it is. It's the name of the product. Like,
yeah.
And OnBuy has just become very quickly a name that resonates in the industry. So it's almost like it doesn't have any roots when it does.
Yeah. I love those little stories. So then you then took a bit of time out, so 2014 to 16, to basically build the platform, I'm guessing.
Yeah, build the platform, build some of the infrastructure needed.
Yeah.
It's always going to be tricky because marketplaces are incredibly difficult to launch.
Yep.
And to make an e-commerce marketplace successful, you need to be able to onboard the retailers. To onboard the retailers, you need connectivity. But to get the connectivity, You need to be viable. How do you become viable if you haven't got the products to sell from the retailers? So you're stuck in what I used to call the marketplace conundrum. But yeah, building the platform out and then finally opening the door and saying, guys, now's the time, let's go.
Yeah. So that piece in that sort of period where you're building it, like you've obviously tested the product, you believe in yourself, you know it's going to happen, right? Like because you just have that belief, don't you? Like it's
yeah,
just
100%. Yeah.
Right. So you've taken the people from the old business into this one to help, or given the opportunity to help you do that. So they're all sort of busy squirreling away. Where does your expertise lie now? Obviously growing the business, obviously, without any shadow of a doubt. But over that 2 years, what were you, obviously you got developers doing the work. Where was you sort of really focusing your time and energy?
Funding the business, and I don't mean raising the money, because we didn't want to raise money institutionally until there was revenue. So for that 2 years, I basically worked to help some of my key clients to grow and help them to scale so that I could keep money coming in to pay the team to actually go and build the product. And obviously, I'm actually CEO and basically encompass the CTO position at OnBuy as well at the moment for now, because my background has always been in building out tech and tech stack and managing developers, DevOps, cybersecurity, everything else. So, I took a hand in the building of the platform, but ultimately my main job was keep the revenue flowing to fund the business. We were never in a position that we could throw 500K into the pot, from day one. I wish I was wealthy, but we weren't. And, so we had to go and earn those money to pay those salaries, drive that forward, and basically dedicated part of my life to just funding this team to deliver the product.
Yeah, wicked. And so you launch it 2016.
Yeah.
You launch it, day one, and had you already done work to get sellers already onboarded and some marketing in place? What would that look like?
Not really. I mean, we'd warmed a few people from 2013 with the soft launch, but not a lot. And the problem in business is, how much do you want to say that isn't real yet? You always have to do that. You have to become a hype person when you own a business, right? You have to, but it has to be tangible quickly. So what you don't want to do is in January 14 start saying what you're going to do, and actually it takes 2 years and 11 months or something to get live. That would just be ridiculous. You just be, So you basically have to sit on your hands a little bit and go, we need to wait until the time is right to do this, which is hugely painful for someone like me, because you want the time to be 10 minutes from now. And you want to move quickly, and you can already connect the dots before everyone's even delivered the platform. And you know exactly where you're going to start, what you're going to do, how you're going to do it. But ultimately, you don't have a product until you have a product. So until the day we opened the doors, we didn't shout.
Yeah, fantastic. And over that first year, then, how did you grow? What was the key marketing thing that you went through? Because with a marketplace, we know well, but people listening might not be so well. Not only do you need sellers, people who are going to sell products, retailers, as you refer to them as, but you also need buyers. You need people to buy the products. So not only have you got to market one end, you've got to market the other end as well. It's like double tap marketing. Like, funding's just.
I don't think people realize quite how difficult it is to launch a marketplace, and we knew this when we set out, so we didn't walk into this blind. But I don't think other people truly realize how tricky. So you open your doors at day one, and as I said earlier, the marketplace conundrum. We say we're ready, and we're going to make an enormous difference to the market, and we can tell you why. The platform isn't as solid as it will be in 2 years either, because we need to get trading to start raising money. But there's also an expectation in the market of what a marketplace should be, born by the largest company in the earth. So, they've already had many, many, many millions invested in technology. And then you're saying to retailers, come and sell with us. And they're saying, yeah, okay, this sounds great. Okay, I can buy into this concept, except you've got no traffic. So is it worth my time listing products? Because then what's the retailer doing? The retailer's investing in something that, is not necessarily worth their time at that point, which is not what a business is going to do. Your time management in business is very, very, very challenging as is, never mind taking gambles on things that, haven't proven themselves yet. So we knew there would be, I used to call it the seesaw, right? The pivot effect, again, a pivotal moment that we felt. If you have a seesaw and on one end you've got, do the retailers need OnBuy, and does OnBuy need the retailers in the basic sense of to get selling, get moving? And we knew the seesaw was well and truly had 10 bricks on one side and nothing on the other. We needed the retailers. We really, really did. But there was two things, or should I say we needed products to sell. Yep. And there was two things we weren't willing to compromise on. I'll explain why. One is we weren't willing to compromise on our fee structure because we didn't want to, we knew that down the line, we wanted a level playing field for everybody to know exactly where they stand. No retailers on different fees is a key thing that some marketplaces do wrong. And then towards the end of the year, all of the retailers are going, I don't know how much I should be paying. I think my competitor's on less than me, therefore I can't be competitive. And it's a race to the bottom on fees, which makes it incredibly difficult for a marketplace to gain market share because they're then having to lower fees. But then you're thinking, I'd rather sell this seller's products than that seller's product. And the whole thing becomes not a level playing field. And the other thing we weren't prepared to compromise on is we made a commitment from literally day inception point one. We will never retail products. We will never compete with our retailers. Now that means it's incredibly hard because you can't bridge the gaps in inventory by onboarding, your own supply chain, i.e. selling your own products in areas that you need them, which at the start of the marketplace journey is everywhere. That would have been very, very easy to do. And to be quite frank, a lot of marketplaces have started as marketplaces and emerged and evolved into retailers because it's very, very hard to get that seesaw to tip.
Because that's really hard. You can't get buyers without products. You can't get sellers without buyers. And exactly that, you're in that seesaw position where it's just impossible. So I can understand why some marketplaces will be like, well, look, let's us buy some of our own products and get that on there. So we've got something on there, but then you move into your problem, your value of we're not going to compete. And that's really, really important.
Yeah, absolutely. And we were never going to flex on that. That was honestly, that is embedded into the fibers of what we stand for. And the very reason that we created OnBuy was to be a partner to retailers, not a competitor. So that was a very, very important, point for us to stick to. So actually, it was an incredibly tough 2 years onboarding retailers that, some would, for various reasons, some would take a gamble and say, do you know what, I'll give this a go. Some might just not be the best retailers, i.e. they're not making great sales elsewhere. So they think, well, they may as well put their products in as many places as possible, but that's not really going to be easy to sell the products. And various other, bits and bobs that would bounce around. Once you get to a point that we had enough products in enough places, it got easier, obviously. And then as traffic started to grow, it got easier again. And then once we started to actually make some significant market moves, it got easier again. And then that seesaw about 8 months ago tipped. And we had to stem the flow of retailers joining us. We had to actually put our hands out and say, we can't give you the experience if we onboard you too quickly. So we're going to cap it at 500 per month. And it's currently sitting, as we're increasing resource and investing, it's sitting at about 650 per month. So we're onboarding retailers carefully and at the right time in the right categories so that we can deliver the service. And OnBuy is clearly growing very, very quickly off the back of, one, actually having things to sell, and two, being able to, invest quite aggressively in marketing now to grow customer demand and adding more value to customers. So it's been a very, very exciting 4 years. The first two, slower, and the second two much faster. And I would say as you get into the past 8 months, just unreal.
Yeah, one that's epic. So congratulations, like that's hat off to you. That's an amazing story to that part. So with this last 4 years then, so that first 2 years, where you're going through that, that stage, was there ever a point where you're like, oh, this is just too tough? Like, are we ever going to get to that tipping point? I know you believe you were always going to do it. So I'm not saying you disbelieved yourself, but did you ever sit there and go, oh, is it actually going to happen? Like, I think it is. I know it is, but is it?
Not that anyone would have known, because I portray a certain picture, but I wouldn't say quite as aggressive as that, but there was certainly points where I was thinking, how long until this really happens? How much longer is it until this moment? And I knew it was coming, but maybe 6 months away from it actually happening, I was a bit like, I thought it might have happened now. It's not happened just now. When is it going to happen?
Yeah.
And then when it did happen, it was like, phew. But I did, if you asked anybody on the team back in the day, or even in recent terms, I am the one that comes in and goes, this is happening. What happens is I have the moments where I think, when? And then I think, do you know what? It's coming. We just got to go. We just keep going. It will happen. I had every belief in it.
There's an interesting piece there about patience, because, quite often you'll see, people listening, you gurus, wannabes, whatever you want to call them, where, they haven't made it in 2 months and they're like, oh, well, I'm quitting and going and doing something else because that hasn't quite worked. But there's a huge amount of patience and dedication and belief in yourself, the idea, and your team in order to make that work. Because you over that 2 years, what was, you started with, what, 10-ish people, I guess, to help you with that?
Yeah, it was roughly. Grew to 14 quite quickly again, but
and then in that 2-year period, what was, did you recruit much in that period, or was it like, right, this is what we got to do, this is what we got to go? Was it steady growth? Is it like?
Not really. We got some angels to back us. We just kept the team where it needed to be, and we all started struggling, of course, as it grew. But we really stayed lean and keen. We actually opened our first institutional investment round in October 19, but we closed it in January 20. And it wasn't until March 20, by the time you get the funds and everything else, that we started to recruit people. So we were still 14 people running a circa a multi-million-pound company, but we were still 14 people. We didn't even have a single person in our marketing team. So there's a bit of an insider joke.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Excellent. So that's great then, until that period, and then obviously you've then catapulted from there. So
we knew what to do at that point. Yeah.
At what point did you think we need angel investment? Did you always know
angel?
that?
Yeah, we knew that we needed angels. We took angel money quite early on, at various stages. So we took around just under £2 million worth of angel money over a period of 2.5, 3 years. Yeah.
And that process, how did you start that? How does someone go about thinking, well, is there a website I go to and I just say, hey, look, anyone got a couple of mil they can borrow, lend me?
It's fundraising is the worst part of business. And I can tell you now, wholeheartedly, when I exit OnBuy, IPO, and we can, in the future have some liquidity while still being CEO, I'm planning to back business owners, get their business ideas growing, because going through that motion of actually raising money is horrific. Angels, I have to say, we had a little bit of luck with a couple of angels. The first angel, I think what happens is when you come from a career in tech, you meet people on the way, and you build confidence on the way without even realizing in some cases these people are investors, right? Both of my first angels had either been clients or contracted parties involved one way or another, nothing to do with investment.
Yeah.
And investment in OnBuy was born off the back of learning that I was about to open an investment round and them saying, oh, don't do that, I'll invest. So brilliant. As for me, getting the angel money was quite simple, which is very unusual.
Well, just on that, because obviously, yes, it was very simple, but let's break that down, because actually, clearly you've had a whole networking piece around that, because you don't just put out to your email group, hey, I'm looking for, well, I'm presuming you didn't say, hey, you put on your LinkedIn post, hey, well, you do now, I get that, but 4 years ago, it's not like, hey, anyone got a couple of mil they can lend me.
Yeah.
It's more of a conversation, isn't it?
It starts differently. I mean, look, the first angel, I was on the phone. I'd worked with him for a long time. I said, I'm about to go and get £140,000 in the pot, the first ever ticket. And he said, oh, I think he just asked me, how are you getting on? What are you doing? Yeah, great, going well. We're getting this platform. We're nearly ready to start trading. We're going to raise 140,000 to do X, Y, and Z. And he went, oh, don't go and raise it. I'll give you that.
Nice.
I was like, what? say what? Really? Okay, cool. Happy days. Good. But you build that up over time from having those relationships, having and building that trust. That didn't just happen,
No.
Then the next stage kicked in, which was, okay, I need some more money. I need 250K. So I met a client, actually. Client had brought this person in to be a financial advisor. And during a passive sort of conversation, he said to me, what else are you guys up to then? Obviously been impressed by what we've done. And I said, well, actually, the truth be told, we're going to leave the web development world completely. This was when I was supporting OnBuy. And very soon we're going to just be OnBuy. This business is going to be growing. And he said, oh, okay. He said, well, what's needed to make that happen? And I said, well, we need to raise 250K in the next 3 months. But this was about 3 p.m. And by 9 a.m. the next morning, he put £250,000 in our account. The same investor I went to meet a few months later because we were gearing up towards first institutional investment. And he, wealthy guy, went to his very significant house. We sat down. He invited a VC to come and have dinner with us and meet and go through what this would look like. Anyway, during the meeting, he'd not had the opportunity to learn the whole vision, right? He just trusted me from the first meeting. Once he got to grips with everything that had happened and what we were doing, it was irrelevant to him whether VC was going to invest or not, because he actually, when the VC lady left the house, he said, I'll do the 2 million.
Brilliant.
So, so it was a crazy ride. Where it gets tricky is you've got to think angels, high net worth individuals, they're motivated personally, right? And they're the ones that will take the gamble. They're usually the entrepreneurs, not the investment world, right? They're usually entrepreneurs. They're the ones that say, I see this, I feel this, I can sense this, and they're looking at the founder thinking, can the founder do this?
Yeah.
Institutional investors is where it gets trickier, right? They have a lot of tick box exercise. It's a totally different experience, and and that then you're open to a world of stuff you never even realize. So your learning never ends. You sit down, you say, look, this is what we're doing, this is where we're going. But
on that then,
crazy.
So where you've gone from, the first round of investment, so you've got the funding. I'm not saying it was easy, but you had a few conversations and made it happen.
Yeah.
As well as, so now you're talking about institutional funding, and it sounds like that's much more difficult. So were you thinking, well, I need raise a bit more cash, and you're thinking, well, this is going to be straightforward. And then you start having to fill all these tick forms, not you fill them in, and it was more difficult. And all of a sudden you're like, oh, God damn it.
Yeah. I mean, there's no word of a lie that raising institutional money is not the easiest thing in the world if your business isn't a neat packaged business that somehow fits a niche that they feel is new to market, and they can't really wrap their heads around a few things sometimes. So, we were very, very lucky. Well, we're lucky by two things in a way. First one is that we met Fuel Ventures, because the Fuel Ventures is entrepreneur-led rather than banker-led. So Mark Pearson at Fuel, met me, heard the dream, and so I went, this is a really, really good idea that we can back this. And even that was a bit of a challenge, because they're like, you're taking on Amazon? Like, no, we're not taking on Amazon. That's not what we said. But naturally, we're in a space that is going to pull some customers from Amazon. But that wasn't why we launched OnBuy, to take on Amazon. We knew the market was big enough and emerging enough that there was enough market share to keep retailers, content with putting their eggs in more than one basket. So, living alongside is perfectly fine in a market that's a multi-trillion-dollar market. Yeah. And we knew that. So once we got over those hurdles and everyone was on the same page, Fuel is, they've backed us now 3 times, and they've backed us in our current round. So Fuel was a great win for us. Every VC we meet that's not entrepreneur-led is a different story. They're a bit like, Amazon, we'll stay out of this one. And that's fine. You get it, right? I mean, the thing is, one of the things I say to a lot of founders that take their businesses out to market to raise money, I say, you've got to know who you're selling this to. And it's become a little bit easier. The second point I was going to say, it's become a little bit easier because, one thing that COVID has really brought to the table is this Zoom, Teams.
Yeah.
I cannot imagine what it would have been like for me having to go and meet 30, 40 investors physically to have those meetings that you can now have on Zoom and cram into 2 weeks.
which you would have done 18 months ago.
Oh my goodness, that would have been really painful, right? I mean, the amount of time having to go and sit with all of these investors, and then some of them say, come to New York, honestly, that would have been very painful. How fast we've been able to accelerate this means that we're on the verge of closing our current fundraise, and it's only been open for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Now, if you'd have gone back 18, 24 months ago, that might have taken weeks and weeks and weeks just because of travel, which is insane.
Yeah. Great for what's going on right now. Every business has got a different sort of period about this, haven't they? And actually, that's massive, amazing you've been able to capitalize on that, because I think that's absolutely critical. So funding aside now, that's all in place. You're going through those rounds to build the business, and presumably the trajectory of the business, you're going to have to continue doing that in different ways as the business grows and scales, I guess. Putting on TV campaigns costs cash.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah. But it shouldn't cost too much cash. One of the things that we've learned with OnBuy, which is quite exciting, capital efficiency. If you were to go and actually have a look at how much, a traditional typical marketplace spends and to get to a certain size, OnBuy is far disproportionate. So to date, we had actually, until a couple of weeks ago when we started opening this round, we'd raised £8 million and we'd only spent 6 and grown a business that's doing nearly 200 million in sales off the back of a £6 million investment. Puts OnBuy in a literally first best-in-class capital efficiency out of every marketplace that we've been able to get any data on by
and that's what investors
a mile.
That's what
100%. Yeah, 100%. And that sends a strong message. Scale from low spend means that your business is both efficient and viable, that it will resonate. Because if you're pushing a boulder up a hill, then it's not a good business model, right? This has got to work, and therefore the investment that we take is spent to create scale, not to support the underlying unit economics of the business. That's not good business, right? So if we can raise money and spend it to become more visible, more credible, attract more retailers and more customers, improve services ahead of time, and scale up the technology, i.e. to get a payback in the near future, that's a good investment. And where it's a bad investment is, pushing this just to learn if it's going to work. And that's what so many marketplaces have done. And so many people have tried to enter this space with tens and tens of millions of investment and have not got to the point that OnBuy's achieved, which is a real testament to our growth.
Yes, yeah, totally. And so, roadmap, future. What's the sort of, is it market share? Is that the ultimate goal over the next, 2-3 years?
I would say it's the ultimate goal. It's clearly a KPI, buying more customers, reaching more people, showing them our value. Yeah. But through that market share comes methodology, right? What we're about to do this year is deliver something. Well, let me explain this another way. OnBuy to date, people have always said to me, what's your USP? You've got a platform that essentially looks and smells like other marketplaces. What's new about it? Amazon has Prime, there's a feature, there's a USP. eBay had auctions and listings and comparison, which actually has probably worked a little bit against them now. People want convenience. Totally. And you look at all these different platforms. Jet in the US tried to do like a fulfillment scale model to build a USP, which is saving money. And all of these platforms try to have a USP. And if you look at what OnBuy is to date, getting to the size that we are, and I'm going to be very honest, you look at OnBuy and you say, where's the USP? I understand where they're coming from. And the USP is not as apparent. So you say, okay, look, let me explain our USP. Level playing field. We don't compete with the retailers, which means we can build trust with them. Their trust means they can offer things to customers without the fear that they shouldn't be listing certain things, that they should fully engage. And then once we do that, retailers feel a sense of value from that. So they start offering promotions, deals, discounts, opportunities for customers because the retailers value the relationship. That's what we've said to date. Moving forward, and in the next 6 months, we're about to deliver our real, nail in the coffin in the sense that finally we've moved to a point in our journey. We've got a whole development roadmap and have since we started that moves into our real valuable USP. What can OnBuy deliver to its customers? And it's going to be really exciting to show in around summer to autumn, some brand new features onto OnBuy, really big things that start to add massive consumer value. And I'm really excited about that.
Wicked. Well, on that then, in September, October, when you're launching that, we'll have to do a follow-up specifically on that with you guys to make sure we're launching that effectively for you so everyone knows. So that's fantastic. So with all of this that's happening, obviously you're building your sort of, your portfolio, your business, if you like. What are you doing and you ain't got much time. I know that because I know what it's like to run a business. There ain't no time for some other stuff. But in the background, what is it you enjoy doing? What is it that you do to relax and chill out and get away from it?
Oh, you need to ask this on our follow-up call, because at the moment, this is 100% on by 100% of the time. My dreams are blue of of our logo. No, I mean, look, stress management and trying to unwind and switch off. I do simple things. I try and carve out part of my weekend to just do normal things, be with the kids, try not to think about work, go out on walks, be with them, go to the park, stupid things like building a shed I did the other week, or, whatever it is, just to literally say, I'm dad and partner at the end of the day. And that's fundamentally why we do these things. And, I can't just constantly be on by. But that's enough for me. Finding time to do anything beyond that would be a disservice to my family, when the rest of the time I'm literally connected to OnBuy. So you see me as super dad at the weekends and businessman in the weekdays.
Nice. I love that. And so you talked about briefly a moment ago about supporting businesses in the future. From an investment point of view.
Yeah.
Clearly you've thought about that briefly. Is there anything you? This is, by the way, for everyone listening, this is not an open invitation to start emailing Cas your business ideas. It might be, but that's not what this is about. Have you sort of thought of the sort of people and businesses you'd like to support in the future? Is it young entrepreneurs? Is it men? Is it women? Some people have an idea of their philanthropy type work as well.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely no. There's no clear plan yet, but there's certainly no preconceived judgment. I mean, I just want to find, in an ideal world, I want to find people with a mindset like mine as early as possible, where they've got an idea. Maybe they just don't know how to connect all of the dots, but it's a really good idea, and they're really driven people. Male, female, countries irrelevant, literally just people with a good idea and the background to help support it, that are driven and motivated and dedicated to it, that I can help accelerate the learning. I would love to get involved with businesses where I can invest capital and expertise and be a bit more hands-on. That's the key there, because I feel that I could have done a lot more with someone early on. I probably could have cut off 5 years of this journey if there was, someone there to support, not just give capital. And I think that's where I want to be.
Sorry, Cas, on that, have you had any sort of mentor, coach type people over the years?
Not really. It's been an interesting one, because every time I sort of align to learn a little bit from someone, the business has outgrown their experience. And the thing is, when you start getting into the realms of significant sales values and the monetary units we deal with, the scale that we're about to deal with and everything, it's not many people to ask, which makes it, interesting. As I said at the start, I'm an absorber and a learner and a listener and a thinker, and I try and learn from other people's experiences as well. I think, that's gone wrong for them, I'm not touching that, or that's gone right for them, I'll look at that, and really absorbing information as I go, which has definitely helped. There's no question that watching other people's journeys and learning from their journeys has helped me, dodge a few bullets and really, create a bit of silver lining. So I think that's paramount. Learn, it's really important to pay attention to what's going on elsewhere.
I think that's the number one thing that that for me is exactly that, is how do you learn and educate yourself? I mean, all of the we've got a couple of podcasts we do. They're essentially asking business owners where they've made their mistakes, so that in all honesty, it wasn't about creating a podcast. It was, how can I ultimately speak to people legitimately and say, hey, I'd love to learn from mistakes. What have you learned that you can stay? And actually, if you say, can I buy you a pint, and then come and interrogate you about what you learned in your business, most people are like, no. But if you say, hey, can I invite you on a podcast and learn about your business? They go, yeah, sure. It just over these years, I've learned so much from just that educating, and people don't do that as much now as I think they could. I think, that accelerates. It's finding the right people. I think what you said there is, I've gone through a couple of those where it's just, I think what you said there, outgrown, like the vision or the everything else they've got just isn't quite in line. So, I think that's amazing. So I think, look, we've taken up enough of your time for today's podcast. Cas, is there anything else you wanted to get across so people, obviously, if they're looking to expand their, e-commerce business, which this is all about, all of our clients are already being told they should be on OnBuy anyway. So that's a given, right?
Thank you. Thank you very much.
No problem at all. What else from you? Any last sort of top tips, top ideas, leaving message, if you like?
No, I think the big thing for me is, OnBuy has a lot to give this year, and it would be great to onboard retailers this year to show you the real benefits that are in the pipeline for this year. Just to give you a bit of a teaser, we've got new mobile app coming. We've got new features alongside that to drive loyalty discounts to customers, and there'll be more on that in the future. But really, really excited to get retailers on the platform now. This year, we're just closing a funding round. It's going to give us significant investment for Q4 period this year on across TV, across other platforms. We're really, really excited to onboard retailers and grow. And if you're looking for a really, easy way to scale your business, add incremental value, i.e. more customers that you can't get elsewhere, and then, really do that at a fixed cost, OnBuy is the right place to be. And we're not here to compete with our retailers. I reiterate again, we do not sell products. We will never sell products. So you can list knowing that the marketplace is here to represent you, and that every pound we sell is a pound turnover for one of our retailers, not for ourselves. So it's a really exciting time to join.
Fantastic. Well, Cas, thank you very much for your time. This was the e-commerce expander secrets podcast. Thanks for your time, and we'll see you on the next episode.